Hi, my name is Kiran, and I'm a 1989 batch graduate. And today, the Alumni Mentorship Program is presenting a panel discussion on how can students prepare for their careers during a pandemic. Just some quick announcements before we begin. This is being presented by the Alumni Mentorship Program and Dean of Alumni Resources and IARC. So thanks to them for their support and getting the word out. For the mentorship program, we have sent out the introduction emails. So please respond to them. Your mentors are ready and they are looking forward to hearing from you. This stream is being streamed on YouTube Live. So you can ask your questions there and we'll try to get to them at the end of the program if we have time. So feel free to use the chat on the YouTube Live. Today we are lucky to have a panel from a very experienced set of very experienced folks from all over the world from different walks of life. Vimy, who's at Sopra Steria, which is she's the chief HR officer there, and has oversees more than 5,000 employees. She has a lot of experience in hiring, jobs, all aspects of HR, mentoring. So she will moderate this discussion. Over to you, Vimy.
Thank you, Kiran. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone, and welcome to this webinar. I'm Vimy, CHRO with Sopra Steria India, as Kiran said. And I thought, let me describe my career journey to you, 25 plus years of career journey to you in 4 words. It's digitally savvy and humanly conscious. So I love technology and I have a passion for people. I did my MBA from IIT Delhi. Other than that, my connection with IIT Roorkee is that my current manager and mentor, Sunil Goel, Deputy CEO of Sopra Steria India, comes from this institute. By virtue of this professional connection, I can conclude that IIT Roorkee has produced some of the finest minds in the country. And today I am amidst four of them. Let me start by introducing the youngest panelist at this event today. Faisal Khan is from the Comp Science batch of 2015 and is now an officer training at Indian Revenue Services. Faisal won the Microsoft Azure Award for BTP and first prize in game development at Srishti 2014-15. Welcome, Faisal. And my question to you is, what co-curricular
Thank
activity
you, baby.
did you
Good morning to
enjoy
everyone.
at Roorkee? Yeah.
Well, I would say that there was this activity which four of us in IT Roorkee we developed of playing cards, and there was a game called SP. So we used to start on weekends, and we used to start somewhere after the dinner, and till 4, 5 in the morning we used to play. And there was music and food, and that was something which became a very good way of hanging out together. And whenever we meet, even today, we just always ensure that pack of cards that's ready so that we can relive those days.
Thank you, Faisal. Playing cards interesting. Okay, I move to my next panelist, Arpit Gupta, who's ECE 2009 batch, and Arpit is joining us from the USA. Arpit is currently an assistant professor in comp science at UCSP. As a systems researcher, Arpit likes to design and build systems that solve real world problems at the intersection of networking, security, and analytics. Arpit received his PhD in comp science from Princeton University. Welcome, Arpit. And I have the same question for you. What co-curricular activity did you enjoy at Roorkee?
Thanks, Mimi, for the introduction. Welcome all. That like that's a tough question for me. I don't remember like what was the co-curricular activity per se, but what I remember most about Roorkee was like food. So I like in my opinion, the food scene was pretty awesome at Roorkee, and I still miss the food there. Like food across different spectrum. I think like, you go out, there were so many options. You go to Century Gate, there were so many options. And then like even at the canteens, we had fried Maggie and all those things. So I still crave for that. And I haven't really found the same food anywhere else in the world. So that's my co-curricular activities, because that's what we used to do most of the evening. I'm not talking about the mess food, by the way.
Thank you, Arpit. Interesting. I move to my next panelist, who's Anurag Bajpai. Anurag is from Architecture Branch of 2006. He's co-founder and director Green Tree Global, and his core expertise is on energy efficiency implementation. And his work assignments include some of the prestigious names like NTPC, BHEL, PWD, and Railways. He's a certified measurement and verification professional by AEE, a certified GRIHA evaluator, and an ECBC expert empaneled with Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Wow, Anurag, that's a lot of certifications. Anurag, welcome to this session, and I have the same question for you.
Thank you, Vimi, for the introduction. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all. Regarding the co-curricular activities, Roorkee is very, very vibrant in all the natures. So on year-wise also, I remember I was part of the UG club, the first year, Hobbies club, second year, I was a fine arts secretary there. And then the elections, Bhavan election, Durra Poly in the third year, and then the internship. And then certainly the squash throughout the years. So I think these were pretty interesting place and the time that we spent there.
Thank you, Anurag. Now I come to my last panelist, Alok Jain. Alok is from Civil Stream 1989 and is joining us from Hong Kong today. An international expert in mobility issues, who's an active theater practitioner. Alok has operated a successful food and beverage business. He participates in an international sports management business and has been involved in many think tanks and social initiatives. Alok is also managing director, Transconsult Limited, a consultancy specializing in traffic and transport advisory services. Alok, that's a multifaceted portfolio. Was theater your co-curricular activity, or did you enjoy something else at root?
My engineering was the co-curricular activity actually. So yeah, I mean, in Roorkee days, I think I was focused more on theater. There was obviously, if I wanted to be more into theater than the engineering bit, but obviously, when you get out with a degree from Roorkee, you are forced into a box.
Okay, I see some freeze at Alok's end. Let's start the discussion. I think Alok will join us back. So thank you everyone and welcome to this discussion. Now there's little doubt in everyone's mind that we are heading towards contraction of economic growth. Many economists are anticipating that Indian economy to either grow at 0 to 2% in fiscal year 2021 or worse, register negative GDP growth. Even the World Economic Forum report has projected 6.1 million job opportunities globally, mainly in the areas of new technologies. While these numbers would no longer hold good, COVID-19, has brought technology to the forefront. It will definitely accelerate the economic revival efforts. Of course, looking out for a job is not going to be easy in all the sectors. At the same time, good talent hunt is still going on in the market. So there is opportunity and there is hope. Amidst this paradox, my first question goes to Anurag and Faisal. Do you think fresh graduates have a level playing field? as they'll be competing for jobs that have either been abolished or are being looked by experienced professionals. Anurag and Faisal, both of you are based in India, and I invite you to share your thoughts with the students on this topic. Anurag,
Yeah,
maybe
sure,
you
Vimi.
want to go first? Yeah.
Yeah. So, as you have mentioned about the economic situation, this is not particularly in India, but across the globe, I would say. This certainly is a new normal that we all have to get adapted. Now, when we look at the job prospects, one has to identify the best domain which are flourishing or may have a better prospects to flourish. Maybe IT, IoT, or online education, healthcare, electric vehicle, and infrastructure, etc. But for the entrepreneur, because we are also seeing a lot of entrepreneurs, there is a incubation cell in IIT Roorkee, and for the entrepreneurship as a choice, it is the best time since the opportunity is very visible and maximum at this point of time. This is what I think I would like to contribute here.
Thank you, Anurag. Over to you, Faisal, for your comments.
Well, I would concur with Anurag because I think economy is a kind of very complex thing, and there are different sectors in the economy. So the impact of pandemic is also varied on different sectors. If I can share an example, one of my friend is working for Booking.com. Rather, two of my friends are working there, and it's a travel-based company. And inside a company, there are people who have been laid off, and there are those who are still working. So it's a complex thing inside a company, and then across the companies like Booking.com, since it's travel based, it has seen a lot of layoffs. But at the same time, one of my other friends is working in a startup, and he says that a lot of work has come. There are a lot of things because it's an online service providing startup he has started. So I think the impact is kind of varied. And as far as the fresh graduates are concerned, then we should always acknowledge the fact that IITs and IIT Roorkee especially, it's having one of the best minds in the country. So no matter how less the economy grows, at least they can be accommodated in the job. So some worries there, but not so much.
Great. So, yeah, I hear from both of you, entrepreneurship is something, which is acting as an opportunity in this challenging time. And also, you're saying IIT Roorkee students need not worry. The best minds would get jobs even in today's downturn or lockdown, or, a market which is showing us a paradox. There will be jobs available for great minds. Good. So moving from the availability of jobs to, how do we prepare for these jobs? So my next question will be, Alok, to you, and Arpit. I think you are the best people to answer this. That, having studied for the normal which the students have left behind, how do you think the fresh graduates, passing out this year, next year, should prepare for a new normal or the next normal? Alok, some of our students also had queries on which skills matter the most. So would you like to start, on this topic?
Sure, Mimi. Honestly, I feel that we are now living in an era of multi-skilling. So everybody should have engineering. You have done. There is a narrow specialization, but a lot of things go beyond engineering. And when I say that I was my co-curricular activity was engineering, I actually mean it, because I tell you, theater and a lot of other skills have helped me through my life in my corporate career, much more than the engineering itself, in a way. Because what happens is when you are present in a corporate world, your communication skills, your way to lead teams, your way to manage teams actually are much more sought after skill sets. than your basic engineering knowledge, which these days, you can just at a touch of a button, you can find on Google, you can find information on any topic. So there is no shortage of those things, but there's a shortage of really people who can gel, who can work with other people, who can lead, who can be confident, who can analyze, and those skills are much more sought after. So multi-skilling is an extremely important. Other thing is flexibility and adaptability, and I think these flexibility to do things. And I'm also at the age of 40, I became an entrepreneur. So from a very senior position in a company with 17,000 people, I started becoming as an entrepreneur. I was the tea boy, and I was the photocopy boy, and I was the managing director of the company. So the whole range, as every startup is like that. And I tell you, and that to me was the best learning experience. And I always question that I should have done this 30 years ago. And but yes, it's rewarding. It gives you your feet on the ground, and then allows you to position yourself, think about, reflect about a lot of things. And unless you are quick on your feet, you just can't succeed. So you have to have those skill sets, which are, even if you go in a job, you are required to have.
Thanks, Alok. It's interesting. Multi-skilling, flexibility, adaptability, and be quick on your feet. When I look at your profile and my profile, I feel, and it may apply to many of the students in India, you first become a software engineer and then you decide what to become. So this is a good time to decide what you really want to become. And Arpit, a follow-up question to you. This can be best usage of time for preparation. How can students better utilize this time to build a better profile for research internships and grad school applications? I mean, before I ask you, is this the right time to go for higher studies? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. I think any time is a good time to go for higher studies. Like pandemic should not be the reason why anybody should go for higher studies, because it require, like, it's a lot of investment of time, energy, and money. So I think, like the reason should be beyond the pandemic. But in general, I think if you already were kind of like having the idea of going for higher studies, at least maybe that was on your side burner or back burner, this is definitely a good time to contemplate a bit more on that and like look into pros and cons of whether higher studies make sense for you or not. That said, if you are really interested in going for higher studies, and this is really an excellent time to take it more seriously, because there are this is an excellent time to kind of like prepare things, and the normal routine of things that you have to do is kind of like you're kind of like release from that shackles that you have. You basically, when you were at IT or regular campuses, you were following a particular schedule, you were kind of like tied to some type of routine and stuff. Now I think like you have more freedom. The choice is more about how you structure your time and like how you prepare and like manage things. This freedom should come with more responsibility, and I think let me talk a bit more about what you should do with that responsible set of time that you have. I think time management is very, very important. I think identifying what type of topics you are really interested in, because if you want to go for higher studies, you might want to have a list of topics that you're really interested in. To that end, I will encourage students to take a look at some of the magazines and journals for different areas that are published every year. So for example, in computer science, we have the ACM, CACM magazines, which is the communications of the ACM. So these type of magazines give you a very good broad overview of different areas that can be pursued for higher studies. What are the interesting problems that people are looking into, and you will get a sense of like whether those problems are resonating with you or not, right? So that is also a very good sense of way of gauging whether those areas of interest to you or not. And then you can also explore and look into some of the conferences, which say for example you picked machine learning or data mining or something, then you can check out those conferences, and most of the conferences do have some summaries for which are relatively high level, so you don't really have to have really good background to understand some of those papers, but at least you can understand the high level summaries and gist of them. So once you have those kind of ideas in place that what you want to do, you might want to reach out to some faculty, because given the COVID pandemic, there is more acceptance to remote collaborations than it was earlier. Like, at least personally, I felt that, like, until unless I'm sitting with my student and like we are having a very high bandwidth communication, research collaborations are not going to work out. But now my students are all like, even if we are in the same town, we are still collaborating remotely. So that has given me a bit more confidence, and I'm now personally I'm more flexible to working with students with like in a remote setup. And I'm pretty sure that's not just me. There are other faculty who are also being more amenable, because like it's kind of like a leveling ground. Now it doesn't matter if you're in the same city or you're 3,000 miles away, right? So I think reach out to faculty. Another thing that when you reach out to faculty, I would also say, like, don't do mass emails. Be a bit more thoughtful about what you really want to do, and who you want to reach out to and what you want to say about that. A thoughtful email has a very high rate of like getting some replies, especially if you are from IIT. But like in general, I think like being a bit more thoughtful about what you're saying, what you want to do, I think that goes a long way. So these are the things that I would say that one can do in addition to like building skills, trying to maybe to develop some of the skills. You like, this is also a good opportunity to take some online classes. And when I say online classes, I think like I just don't mean the Coursera or EDX type of courses. There are a lot of faculty now who are also posting their general regular lectures online, because everybody is now teaching online. So why not post your lectures online so that like a broader set of students can get access to it? So I'm doing it, like other faculty are also doing it. So if you take those lectures, I think like, say for example, if you're taking a Coursera course, then once like, one instructor might have an audience of 2,000 students. So you might not get that much of attention if you want to follow up after taking those courses. But if you are, say, taking my course, and if you reach out to me later and say like, I took your course and like, this assignment was wrong or something, then I'll pay more attention to what you're saying, and that kind of like will improve the chances of like having a more productive interaction down the line. So these are the things that you can do to learn a bit more, and there is a lot of freedom. But like I would advise that you should try to structure your time better so that you can leverage that freedom to your best.
Great tips, Arpit. I think a lot of detail in your answer, and it's going to help the students who are wanting to do higher studies. So thanks a lot, and I think great tips. So, moving on to a crystal ball question, and this question I want to put to all of you. And if you can gaze into the crystal ball or the future, how do you think the careers will change post pandemic? And how should students prepare for that new reality? Will there be more entrepreneurs? We spoke about it. Anurag mentioned on entrepreneurship in his first question. Would there be more people going for higher studies? I mean, can all of you envision the job market of the future, and give your experiences, your views on this topic? um, Anurag, maybe we can start with you.
Sure, Mimi. So, if I take back my career and the kind of work that we are doing, so I started my career after Turkey with Siemens in power plant design, and then moved to USAID, and then all started operating as an entrepreneur in terms of Green Tree Global. And then onward, we've been working in energy efficiency as a buildings domain. Now, if you look at the last 10 years work, and let's say the kind of work that we are doing post pandemic got started, there is a hell lot of difference that we are seeing in terms of our approach as well. The kind of offerings that we were doing in terms of the design patterns and other related building design and energy efficiency solutions, they also are requiring a lot of interventions and the design changes, like fresh air requirements, heat recovery. Building operations are supposed to be more changed with a lot more these pandemic prevention measures. Then we also talk about the air conditioning design, and the selection is also getting changed. Everything has to have some certain alterations, and we are supposed to be adapt ourselves in terms of changing our in the business line with respect to these changes. Uh, with respect to, let's say, the career in science and technology or entrepreneur, I would say in our case specifically, we also feel that there is a lot more opportunity in this domain. And for the resources, we ourselves have started our education arm so that the kind of orientation program which we were giving when person was there in the office, now we have to adapt ourselves in terms of orienting someone online, and we have built these programs overnight, and we try to train the students or even the professionals online with these kind of courses or the works that we have been doing so far, so that when we hire people, there should not be the time spent on orienting these courses or the experience or the kind of work that we are doing. We need to have the ready resources, and they are supposed to be independent, and they should be ready to work from the day one. That is a kind of, let's say, thinking that we as an organization have as of now, and we believe that these kind of changes are really important for the students to get adapted as well, for the professionals as well. They'll be applying, and we also realize that the pandemic itself is giving a lot more opportunity in terms of forcing ourselves, be it the student or the professional or the entrepreneur, in terms of changing the line, adapting the situation, and will certainly be good for the opportunities or the jobs in times to come.
Faisal, moving to you, how about your view on the jobs for the future?
Well, I think there will be certain key areas in any organization which will get more importance now. Like, I think automation is something which already is a kind of buzzword. Now, because of the pandemic situation, somewhere there's emphasis on having social distancing and having minimal contact. So I think that is something which will be given more push. Like, if I can share something from the custom side presently, custom ports, a lot of import export consignments are coming. So humans are still involved, if I talk about India, in dealing with the consignments. So somewhere the government will want to have solutions so that the entire process is somewhere automated, which will include opportunities for the graduates in both hardware as well as in the software side. Similarly, uh, in telemedicine also, I think a lot of hospitals, they are providing the option of OPD by not making people come to the hospitals. So that again was an area which was somewhere present since a lot time, but because of the pandemic situation, I think it can get more pushed. So associated uh, solutions and job opportunities which we can have in that area, they are something which can get even a greater push.
Thank you, Faisal. Alok, lifting from your multifaceted experience, how do you see the job market in the future?
I think job market in the future will always remain, but I think what is going to change is, the organizations will be much flatter. They're not going to have as many levels that we see. I actually did a study 2 years ago for Singapore government on looking at their transport regulation and what kind of organization they should have as a future ready organization with the technological advancements and all the tools that are available at their disposal. This was all pre-COVID, but even in those days, we actually concluded that, I mean, from their 13 levels of hierarchy, when this engineer starts the job at the bottom and then rises up to those 13 levels, those are gone. Those are not needed now. Maximum you need is 4 or 5 levels, and that, what does it mean in terms of job prospects? Is that your progression through titles would be much slower, and as we also see that the titles have actually stopped mattering at all. A lot of people are adopting non-conventional titles, and absolutely this whole the SVP, AVP, VP, and all those levels are becoming immaterial. The titles are becoming immaterial. So don't get engrossed into those. And I think work matters. Good work always gets noticed. And I think in the new world, that is really, and as Anurag said, you're always climbing on a running train. You don't have time to settle down. And if you can't just get on a running train, you will have trouble getting the traction in the corporations or companies that you join. So even when you work for somebody else as a job, the entrepreneurial mindset is almost a necessity. So whether you work for yourself or you work for somebody else, that mindset is needed, where you need to make sure that you deliver results, you make sure you own what you do, and then of course, yeah, that is how the performance is being measured.
Thank you, Alok. Arpit, any last thoughts on this topic, on the
Yeah,
job
yeah,
specifically? Yeah.
I think what Faisal said, I would complement that. I think the future is going to be about the knowledge economy, right? So he mentioned something about automation. So I think that's an inevitable thing that's going to happen. Anything that can be automated will be automated, right? So when you think about what areas and what skills you want to focus on, think about what specific intellectual value you're going to bring to the table, right? That's going to be the most important skill in the future. Pandemic is only going to accelerate that thing, but like we were already like phasing to that direction where automation was, everything is like, is going to engross everything, right? Like, so that was already going on. With pandemic, with like less human contact, social distancing and everything, all that thing is just going to get accelerated even further. I also want to comment a bit on this job thing. So I think on a similar theme, jobs don't die, they evolve, right? So I think like from that perspective, it is very important to think about like, like when there is a journey of a job, where do you stand, right? So are you kind of like in the vulnerable part of the job, which is like you have such a specific set of skills which cannot evolve over time, or you have set of like core expertise that are very flexible, that can be applied across different evolution cycles of a particular job. I think that type of understanding is important. As a new grad, you might not have that exposure and understanding, and that's why we have the alumni network, so you can get that type of information and not exposure to those things. I can talk a bit about this specific journey that happened in my research area. So I work in computer networks, and in networks, in like say early 2000, there were only two vendors which were dominating the entire market. And the job, if you were a networking guy making a lot of money, your job was to understand a list of 10 or 20 different protocols, and you should know how you can configure different devices, right? So if that was the expertise you developed, within few years, this new thing called software-defined networking came in, and the whole focus changed from being able to configure these devices and being aware of these protocols. You need to learn programming so that you can program all these devices, right? So the expertise that was required to be a network engineer just evolved in 5 years, 4 to 5 years, and that is something that I witnessed as I was like doing my PhD. And by the time people caught up on, like people who were 10 years, 20 years into networking, they had a hard time learning programming and like, figure out how do you program all these devices. By the time everybody caught up, now the new theme is like, oh yes, these programs can actually be synthesized. We can actually generate all these programs using machine learning, right? So now the skill and demand is being able to use data and being able to use machine learning to generate and synthesize all this code. So this is the evolution that's going to happen. The stationary thing here is that you should understand the basics of what networking is all about, right? So all the other skills, like whether it's the protocols, or whether it's the programming languages, or whether it's the machine learning algorithms, I think these are all transient skills that can be developed. But the core expertise, if you want to excel in networking, is like you should understand the basics of those, right? So that's kind of like an example of how evolution of job happens. And one has to take a sense of like, or get a sense of like, what are the most core set of skills that are required to excel in a particular area, and understand these transient nature of a particular area. So
Thank you, Arpit. Here I would like to put a bit of corporate input. Um, we all have seen that gig economy was shaping up in the global environment. Uh, my view is it will now go up in India. So contractual jobs like consultants, independent contractors, on-demand workers, freelancers, Anyone who accepts assignments on a temporary basis would be more in demand. I will advise, nudge, urge the students not to be shy to adopt this. Companies will want this flexibility. As my co-panelist said, let me also say, have an entrepreneur mindset. And again, you need to build your reputation to be a gig worker. So, which goes back to our point of networking. And for networking, you need mentorship. So now I want to take the next topic of mentorship. We used to tell our kids, don't take mobile to the school. And now, what has happened? The school is in the mobile. So I imagine, many of our students perhaps are feeling anxious about disconnected at this time, disconnected from their teachers and mentors. And my question to my co-panelists is, how can students seek mentoring at this time? And are we as experienced professionals even equipped to mentor them for what lies ahead? As we have never survived any pandemic ourselves, and we don't have a playbook for any success. Uh, Anurag, you want to take a shot at this question?
Yeah, Vimi. So as you have rightly said, I think for the kids, let's say I have a 7 years old kid and he spends almost like 4 or 5 hours daily on the tab in terms of learning from the schools. But certainly, I think this is this may be termed as a temporary, and this may be termed as a new normal. But this is how we have to adapt, and we, being the human race, we have to be adjust ourselves to the current situation. That is what I think the learning is. Um, in terms of the online the communication process where uh, people used to have a lot of hitch. We used to travel a lot. I remember almost like 40 to 60% of our daily time used to go in travel to meet people, to discuss and to spend, let's say, 10 to 15 minutes or half an hour meeting. So that is something, a biggest saving that we can see at this point of time. And the plus point is that earlier, whatever the hitch or the hesitation or the apprehensions were there across the table in terms of either the government or in the public sector or in the private sector, now they are getting open to discuss the matter or the subject online. So this is something which is the better or positive side of the scenario. So I would also suggest and maybe recommend to our younger ones that this is something that they are not supposed to be anxious about. This is something, the time that they have to put their passion collectively, and they have to be more confident. They have to present themselves with all the skills that they have accrued in Roorkee, and this is the best time that they can be sure that the time will be best for them.
Okay. So, Faisal, Arpit, or Alok, how can students seek mentorship at this time? I know this is one platform, but what else can they do?
Okay, I'll take a go. So I honestly, I think the mentorship, the concept of mentorship, it has also changed a little bit over these years. There used to be mentorship used to be very interpersonal, very personal kind of thing between the mentors and the mentees, um, and there was a time when we could actually quite reasonably forecast the future. uh, we at this moment are probably standing at that cusp of change where we really don't know. Nobody knows what the future lies ahead. I mean, automation, AI, machine learning, all those things are coming. At the same time, we hear a lot about this climate change and the kind of disasters that is going to bring to this planet. And then you have these pandemics. And by the way, this is not my first pandemic. I handled the previous one in Hong Kong in 2003, the SARS pandemic. Obviously, that didn't we could contain it within Hong Kong, but that didn't spread. So here we were much more prepared this time around, and there was absolutely no panic, and there is absolutely no panic even until now. So anyway, so things are changing, and these things are going to trigger the new kind of world, new kind of approaches to various things, and so it's very difficult to predict the future. I think what a mentorship's role now is that you may not just want to have one mentor, you may want to have multiple mentors. And today, in a connected world, if you see, there are so many webinars, so many content that is being created online, and which is available for posterity, for everybody to see. You can actually watch and visit at your own leisure, and then you can get in touch with a lot of other people, and people are actually extending help and providing support. So get your ideas, collect ideas, form a view, and maybe you then have a mentor with whom you can bounce off these ideas. I think your mentors probably, I mean, I as a mentor may not even know more than what the students might be knowing today. But the idea is to have a bouncing board, and where they collect information, bounce these ideas off you, and we can probably help them, um, guide them on a path, develop other skills which are needed to form these ideas and take it forward. So I mentor a lot of startups in Hong Kong at the moment, and this is exactly the approach. I mean, I find new students, fresh grads, with great ideas. I mean, better than my ideas, I would say, in some instances, but they have very little business knowledge. They don't know who to talk to. They don't know where to go for what kind of funding. Those little help is where we add value. We provide those plug points. I can't really tell them today what software to learn, what robots to buy. I really don't have those expertise, but we can still help them go through that path, that journey, where they can actually use their specializations, their skill sets, and then supplement it with a lot of life experiences. And I think that is where the role of mentorship has kind of transformed.
Thanks, Alok. Anything you want to add, Faisal or Arpit?
Well, I would like to add that even though we may not have seen pandemic like in India, but everyone has their own life experiences, and it may be possible that they may correlate something from the past and give some valuable feedback to their mentees. For example, for me, when I was preparing for civil services, I prepared from my house. So presently, social distancing has forced people to prepare civil service examination from their houses, even though there is another option of going to coaching hubs like Delhi. So I think maybe I can use my experience and still, despite not facing a pandemic, provide some valuable input to the mentees.
Yeah. Thank you. Arpit? You're on mute. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So I think the only thing that I'll add here is, it's a human nature that we will get flattered if somebody asks for mentorship, right? Because if somebody is asking me for mentorship, basically they think that I'm capable enough that I can mentor them. So the takeaway message here is that it's mostly about reaching out. People are there to help you out. I think it's just about, as Alok was pointing out, they consolidate the set of things that you really need help or mentorship for. I think as long as you know what you want out of it, I think like people are there to, help you out, right? And I will be surprised if somebody reaches out, or, do you want to mentor me? And they say like, no, I won't mentor you. They can say like, I am busy, and maybe we can have a lesser frequency, or I'll only have 15 minutes or something. But I'll be surprised if somebody says no, right? So I think it's up to you, and I think there might be some hesitation in the process, but I think like this is the channel that we have, and I think at least with this program that we have, I think like the goal is that we will be able to reduce the threshold so the students can reach out to this vast alumni network that we have and get the right mentorship.
Great. I would also like to add some bits here. One thing that remains important in the job market is the depth of your professional network. And I know my own mentor has worked a lot on me to make sure I have that professional network myself. So I would urge students to start doing this before they get into the job. If you're still under stay-at-home orders, or you're under lockdown, or you're not moving, it's a great opportunity to update your LinkedIn profile. Get active on Twitter. Twitter is a great professional platform. You can connect with any mentor in the world through LinkedIn and Twitter, and ensure that your personal brand reflects the type of network you wish to attract. So use this, I call it liminal time, to build your network and get mentored by some of the online gurus which are there. You don't have, it doesn't cost you anything, to follow them and understand what they are doing so that you can keep absorbing this every day. Great. So it's going good so far. And before we come to the questions from the audience, I will again like to invite all the panelists, and I'll request you to be brief on this one. It's like a rapid fire. If you feel, there is one piece of advice you would like to give our students to succeed in the future world of work post crisis that perhaps we haven't already covered in our discussion till now, what would that be? And I can start with Faisal.
Well, I would say that because of the pandemic, somewhere our physical movement has been confined and our social interactions also have been limited. So that has a strong bearing on the health of all of us. So I would suggest the students to take care of their health, and they can do simple things ranging from yoga or their body weight exercises for their physical health. And they can talk to their parents, their friends, connect with all the old people they were not able to, so that their mental health also is proper in somewhere. I think it has a good impact, and maybe they can also focus on their co-curricular activities. That will also give them good perspective.
Thanks, Faisal. I think you touched a very pertinent point. Uh, Whatever we've discussed, if we don't take care of our mental wellness, it's not going to work. So thank you for bringing up this topic. Arpit, we go to you next. Anything we have not covered and you feel students need to take care?
So I would say two things. One, which is very important, which is like, life is not a race. So we have been programmed to treat it that way. But you'll be surprised when you free yourself from that race mentality, that life is much more than that. And I think this is a good opportunity because everybody is facing challenges and hurdles. So it doesn't matter what type of progress you make, nobody's going to judge you for this period. So like take that as a free period and explore whatever you really want to do. So that's one point. The second thing is that when we talk about entrepreneurship, I think I feel that this whenever there are these type of scenarios where pandemics and situations, I think they always give rise to opportunities, and to leverage those opportunities, sometimes we have to take risks. So don't be afraid from taking risks, because if there is any graduating students or any set of students who are in position to take risks, that is you folks, right? So if there is any group of students who should not be afraid of taking risks, that's you all. So I think to leverage all these opportunities, we'll have to take risks, and you folks are well positioned to take those risks. So my suggestion is, or my advice is, go ahead and take those risks, so that you will be in position to leverage all these new opportunities out there.
Great, Arpit. I tell my teams also, this is not a productivity contest. That okay, I have attended 10 webinars and you've attended only 7 or 8. So you said it so beautifully. Life is not a race, but don't let this crisis go waste. Also, do something you can be proud of. Okay, I use this time, to accomplish this. But you're your competition. It's not about attending 8 webinars in a day. That's what I wanted to add. Anurag, over to you. Something you would advise to the students?
Yeah, Vimi, I think I'll also add to the Arpit's suggestion. So I would say that you need to recognize your passion. Anyone or everyone at any given point of time when you are at campus, either day or night, whenever the question asks what attracts you most, you should be free flow. You should not have any hesitation, or you should not spend your time in thinking that, oh, what you need to do. So I think that is something related to your intention, your passion, your willingness, your interest, and that is something which you have to identify. You need to think. You have to develop your skills, soft skill or technical skill. That is what you are there, and there will be always like the good time for you.
Great. Thanks, Anurag. Uh, Alok, can I ask you
Okay,
for your
I
advice?
yeah, well, I think life is a race, and but it's a race against yourself, you know. So every time you have to
Yes.
ask, what can you do more? What can you do better? What can you do faster? I mean, and you have to be in a race with yourself. And I mean, I end every day. I ask myself, could I have done anything better in this day? And I do a lot of corrective actions based on that against myself, and that's to me is my race. Other thing which I think, I mean, you emphasize Mimi a lot on network, and I always say that people, your first and foremost network that you have is your friends and family, and
Hmm.
strengthen that network because that is fundamental to your mental health. I have a great group of friends. I mean, yesterday night I was out drinking until 2 2. I mean, this is a boys' night, and you know, over a period of time, my wife used to complain about it that I spend too much time with my friends, and now we have come to a point where she actually encourages me to go because it makes my happiness index go up. It actually improves my my other interactions. So I think those things are extremely important. Cherish your existing networks. Don't let them fall apart. Keep contact with your friends. Meet them. Enjoy a drink. Enjoy a meal. Enjoy a conversation. Watch a movie. Whatever. And I think that those are extremely important for keeping the mental health going, and as well as it's a great support network. And I think even more than the mentorship part, this network of is your first and foremost mentorship, which provides all kind of help and support, and can to you. I mean, more than any mentor would, because they know you so much better than any mentor would over a Zoom call or whatever it is. So do keep that in mind. Make good friends, and then life would be a pleasant journey.
Thank you, Alok. And I am declaring on behalf of all of us that any of the students can reach any one of us for any guidance or mentorship. I hope everyone on the panel agrees with me. A thumbs up if you
Yes.
agree.
Yeah.
Great. Uh, yeah, to summarize, everyone, and I was taking this little bit of notes on the last question, mental wellness, take risks. Life is a race with yourself, and life is not a race, for the competition. Focus on soft skills, share your experiences, express yourself, and please, please, please practice self care. Very important in today's time. And if I add my bit on this, please don't overrate the virus and underrate your skills. Have confidence in your capabilities and your strength. There are many opportunities staring at us. Great. Now I'm opening the session for live Q&A. So if you have any questions, we'll be happy to take. But we had some questions beforehand, so I'm going to pick one from there. And Alok, maybe you can answer this. There's a question, which came to us earlier is students having low CGPA often are not able to sit in campus placements. And the question which has really come is, how should they apply for off-campus? So please remember the two words low CGPA.
Well, you are looking at one. Okay, so I I I I'm not very proud of my CGPA. Let me just put it diplomatically. But having said that, uh, it hasn't stopped me from anything. Honestly speaking, I my first job was with World Bank, but I tell you, it is it is not really the name of the brand that matters. and or anything else. I mean, I resigned from that job. Everybody said I was stupid. That was a great job, paid decently, and there was a lot of other facilitating money that could come. As a civil engineer, we all understand what that means, but I just didn't want to do that, and I said no, I want to leave, and I left. Went through a lot of things. Even in my work with public transport, I moved around and I kept resigning. And my company was too kind to me. I was and they said when I resigned from one position, they put me in somewhere else, which I wanted to do. So I started as a civil engineer, moved to strategy, moved to finance, moved to operations, and then I was head of marketing. So all that within the same organization over a period of 13 years. So I literally did 6 jobs over 13 years in the same company. And to me, only that is only possible when you have those skills, you have that adaptability, you are ready to learn, you're ready to challenge things, you're ready to challenge established notions, and I think that is needed. And CGPA is only one factor. Probably yes, there are still a lot of people who will look at your CGPA. Honestly, if you have low CGPA, don't even go to those people because they're going to depress you. So go to people who look at your attitude, your other skills, and there are so many other jobs which don't even require so much of deep engineering knowledge unless you're going into R&D or academia. Um, uh, Honestly, it's a funny coincidence, and a lot of my batchmates would probably laugh, and they do laugh at me when I tell them that I'm also teaching at Hong Kong University. A person who never attended classes is currently teaching in Hong Kong University. So it is a kind of a paradox. But it just tells you that it doesn't stop you from anything. Your work is your work, and as I said, if you're racing with yourself, you can do anything. CGPA is just a number. It's nothing more than that.
Great. Thanks, Alok. Move away from numbers. I'm not saying numbers are not important, but numbers are not everything. So thank you for those tips, Alok. Faisal, I have a live question for you. One of the students is asking, should one prepare for 2021 civil services examination during these times, even if they have a potential job offer? So what would you say?
Well, I would say that uh, if you are really passionate about civil services, then job offers other than that hardly matter. But it's I think, a very
Sorry,
valid question.
did you have a job, a running job when you went into IRS? Maybe you can share that.
Yeah, actually, I was uh, given a pre-placement offer by DE Shaw, company named DE Shaw, where I did my internship. So I had a job offer, but I always wanted to go for civil services, so I never took that and started preparing for it. It was a long journey for me. I gave various attempts, learned from my mistakes. So coming down to this question, I would suggest the person who is asked that one issue which happens when we go to a job, when we have to prepare for civil service or give civil service, is that our motivation level may go down because we may start feeling comfortable with the job we have, and civil services requires a lot of effort. And let me tell you, it's a competitive exam in our country. So if you think that you can sustain that motivation by working in the job for maybe 1 year and then prepare for it after that, then maybe you can do a job, because at this point of time there is a bit of disruption also. I would like to acknowledge that, like coaching, if you want to take coaching, which I believe for at least optional that person would like to have, then there will be some impact there. It will be more of online coaching, which the person may not prefer. So he may like to wait for the next year where he may get offline coaching. That would be more effective for him. So keeping into point all these considerations, I think it has to be a personal choice on the part of the individual who is asking the question.
Great. So if
And
to
just let me
summarize,
also add that it's not that the government is not recruiting people, even though there may be some delays, like this year civil service examination has been delayed by 3-4 months. But government will always require civil servants, and more so because a lot of work is being done by the government side. So as a job offering from the government, I think the person should not be concerned. It's ultimately from his side, whether he wants to go now or 1 year later.
Great. So I think the student would have heard the answer. Faisal is saying yes. If you have interest in that area, don't bother about the job offer. Go ahead and apply for the civil services.
Yes, yes.
Great. Anurag, I am working in a corporate and I'm seeing we've not used our office for almost 3 months, practically not used. But I also read an article which said that this work from home frenzy has brought a demand for architects. People are asking for optimization of their home space to convert them into offices, or they want a soundproofing room. Uh, I'm saying all this because do you think architect firms are recruiting more? And especially if we can help the students, are they offering internships? Because seems like the demand for architecture is increasing. And how can students gain experience, on these internships? So I'd like to invite you to answer this. You're on mute, Anurag.
I'm sorry. Thank you for telling me. I find this as two questions separately. So the first is surely the people who have been working in a corporate, the bigger firms, they have to spend a lot of time working from home. So they need very specific quality time where they can interact with the employees and can take the guidance or give the guidance. So certainly this is, let's say, in terms of getting specific space to work for a certain period of time is the new requirement that we are seeing also. So this is the first thing. And the second, in terms of the opportunity for the students in terms of the internship, surely when we look at the architecture, it's more like integrating different kind of services as well. Designing is one. Then we talk about the electrical and mechanical and other specific services putting together, and then we create the space. In general, architecture firms have never been seen working from home. So, but seeing the opportunity, seeing the situation, they don't have any other option except to adapt themselves. So they have started working from home. They are also getting open for online internship programs. In our firms also, we have specially designed a specific online internship for the students as well. So this is the way forward approach that the architecture firm or the good architecture firm they have to have. And in case if they don't adapt to the new normal, I'm sure like they will not be surviving for long. So I think there are a lot of opportunities for the students in terms of the online internship as of now.
Okay, thanks, Anurag. From online internships to online placements. But before I come to you, Arpit, I wanted to share a Hindi quote. ना जाने जिंदगी का एक ऐसा शोर है, ना जाने जिंदगी का एक ऐसा शोर है, इंसान खामोश है और ऑनलाइन शोर है. So, Arpit, how should one prepare for online placements and online learning from a soft skills point of view?
Uh, yeah, I think like online learning is something, thankfully, not a new thing, right? So it has evolved a lot over time, and there are new pedagogies that have been tried and tested over time. So I think, like, there is like it is still a work in progress, but it is still going on. I think there are these mature platforms that are out there, and there have been a lot of iterations over those platforms. So those platforms are really great avenues to expose and learn all these skills that are required. I would also encourage students to kind of like participate in some of these online competitions as well, because they also give you a good exposure to one kind of problems that are more important and relevant, and like also how others are thinking about similar set of problems. So these kind of like are also good opportunities, good avenues where students can spend time and learn about what's important and what's going on.
Okay, thank you, Arpit. Um, I'll just do a quick check if there are any live questions from our audience. If not, we will conclude. Um,
I would like to add one pandemic share for you,
y-
Vimi,
sure,
which
Alok, go ahead.
yeah,
We'd
written by
love to hear
Bashir.
from you.
Yeah, written by Bashir Bhadra long time ago. And he is one of the best Hindi shayars, if you like. So, and he said, "कोई हाथ भी न मिलाएगा जो गले मिलोगे तपाक से ये नए मिजाज का शहर है जरा फासले से मिला करो."
वाह वाह, क्या बात है. Thank you, Alok. It's such a good ending to this webinar, but for the benefit of students who joined late, I will just like to summarize some of the things we all heard during the last 1 hour. Crisis does not define us; our response does. We can't do much on something which we can't control, but we can definitely work on something which is in our control. You got some very important tips from our panel today. Learning is a continuous process, hence, keep learning relevant things, be adaptable, be flexible, be ready to change. Life is a race for yourself, life is not a race. Online internships are there in the market. Be aware of the market. Be patient. It can take a little longer. You really have to focus on preparedness. It's a great time to go for higher studies. It's a great time to become an entrepreneur. And if I may summarize, if this is a bad time to get into a job, this is probably the best time to get into a career of your choice. Arpit, Alok, Faisal, and Anurag, what a pleasure it was to get your views on such an pertinent topic. Um, Everyone now has a short survey to fill. I will also like to inform you that the recording of this webinar is available for the students later. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, audience, for tuning in today.
Thank
Please
you.
give us the
Thank you.
feedback.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
to all the panelists, and hope to see you soon on some other platform. Thank you.
Sure,
Thank you,
sure.
Vimi. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
Thank
you.
you
thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you.